we're going to start off with the 4-thread overlock stitch, and that is the most commonly used stitch. You can use it to finish off edges, but you can also use it to seam items, okay? So we're gonna start with that last page in your instruction manual, and we're going to go to the 4-thread overlock stitch. If you'll notice, there are tension numbers in each of the threads. So this is your left needle tension, your right needle tension, upper looper, and lower looper. And because there are numbers there, that indicates that you will need to thread all of these. Okay, so first let's pay attention to your stitch width and your stitch length. Stitch width, it recommends 5.5 to 7.5. Let's go ahead and start with your widest width at 7.5. Okay, so come down to here. We're going to turn it all the way to 7.5 at its widest width. Okay, then your stitch length is recommended to be between 2 and 3. So we're going to come down and make it at 2.5. Okay, just double check that your differential feed is on N. All of our tension knobs are set at 4, so let's take a look at those, and we already have them set. Because your Eclipse DX has the jet air, we don't have to thread in any specific order. So for this video, we're just going to work from right to left. We'll work with your lower looper first on around. Okay, so let's open our front doors. We need to engage your loopers. So push this in, bring your hand wheel towards you, and the goal is to pop these loopers into place. Okay? Now let's go ahead and switch this over to L, because we're going to work with the lower looper first. Come on up to your thread spool. We're going to take your thread straight up through your thread guide. Then we need to clip our thread back in. You want to hear that click back here. Bring your thread straight down and into the hook. From here, you want to make sure that you have a good 20 to 30 inches. So a good rule of thumb is just to pull the thread down to your leg to have a good excess of thread. Then we're going to put about 1 inch into this little port here. All right, and once this is over at L, you can go ahead and press the pump, and it shoots your thread right through. All right, so let's do the same thing for your upper looper. Go ahead and switch over to you, then come up to your spool. Bring your thread up through the thread guide. Click your thread, you'll hold it kind of like dental floss, and bring it down the thread guide. Again, pull out a good amount of thread and place the thread into that port. So this is your upper looper, and I just want to point out, if you have your switch on the wrong looper, you could be pushing all day and it's not going to thread the correct looper. So if you're pushing and it's not working, make sure that you have this selected on the correct looper. Okay, so we're going to push that, and it shoots your thread out of your upper looper over here. Now let's go ahead and thread your needles. So we'll start with your right thread. Come up here, up to your thread guide. Click it into place and bring it down. You're going to hook through here and here. Come up and around. And this is much like a sewing machine where you have to hook it above the needles. Okay, so let's set that one aside, and let's bring your left thread up through the thread guide. Click it into place. Come straight down and catch this hook as well. So this one will have both your right and left needles. And bring it up and around and hook that into place as well. After you've moved your looper threads to the back, let's go ahead and put your foot down. And what that does is that puts tension on your thread. So it's not going to move anywhere when you're threading your needles. All right, so oftentimes these threads will come out of this hook when you're threading. So we'll just make sure those are back in place. All right, let's go ahead and do your right needle first. So I'm going to move that left thread out of the way. We're going to switch your needle threader selector over to R so that it will thread your right needle. Use the middle finger of your left hand to push the needle threader down and through the eye of the needle. Okay, so you'll see these two prongs here, but in between those two prongs is a tiny little hook that goes through the eye of the needle. And we need to catch that hook with your thread. Okay, so we'll straddle the thread underneath. So you're going to go back and touch underneath those prongs, touch the face of the needle, and bring it back towards you. And you can tell it's hooked when that thread isn't moving, when it's not going anywhere. Okay? And now, to get it to go through the needle, you're going to release all three at the same time, slowly. And it catches that loop behind the eye of the needle. All right? So you'll just want to make sure to pull that loop all the way back and underneath the foot. And if this thread just pops back out, just make sure to put it right back in place. All right, let's go ahead and thread your left needle. So make sure to change your threader selector over to L for left. And you'll notice as we do that, it moves your needle threader. All right, so we're going to take that left thread, place it behind the hook. Again, with the middle finger of your left hand, push your needle threader all the way down till it touches your needle, and straddle that thread underneath and hook it. Let go of all three at the same time. The needle threader is very helpful. It just takes a little bit of practice, and once you get it, it's so easy. All right, let's lift your foot up. Tuck all of your threads underneath your foot. Now you can lower your foot, grab all 4 threads, and clip them evenly, and they're at a great length to start serging. Last step before you close your front doors, disengage your loopers. So push this all the way to the right until those click, and now we can close up. All right, we're going to show you how the 4th thread works with a couple of different fabrics. We're going to start with a woven first. And this would be for creating a seam. You can create seams for dresses, garments, all kinds of things. So I'm putting pretty sides together. So with a serger, you don't necessarily have to lift the foot up because you can see the feed dogs peeking out there and they'll actually grab your fabric. All right, we're going to start with the fabric lined up to the right of the blade so that you can see how it cuts your fabric off here. So you control the speed with your foot pedal just like you do a sewing machine. And let's go ahead and serge. So you can see the fabric being cut off evenly over here. So at the end, you want to make sure that you leave a tail. I like to leave it long enough to be able to cut it off with your blade. So let's take a look at that stitch. So this is the top side, and here's the underside. And let's make a little bit of sense of what everything is here. So your zigzaggedy stitches, that is your upper looper on top. And if you look at the back, this is actually your lower looper thread. Okay, and then your straight stitches for your needle threads are these two right here along the edge, those two. Okay, so that's your right needle and that's your left needle. All right, so this is on a woven fabric, and if you open this up, you have a seam. All right, so what this basically accomplished was you can create a seam, a strong seam with the 2 needle threads, and finish off your edges at the same time, so your seam is not going to fray.